FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's April 20th, 2017. And it's just been shocking when you watch on TV. You see these so-called liberals who are real enemies of free speech, and they're attacking you. They're blocking traffic. They're doing all sorts of crazy things that, in my opinion at least, don't really further their cause. They just piss off a lot of people. I mean, an ambulance stuck in traffic that they have blocked, the person dies, you're late for work. What do you do? How do you avoid it? If you're in the situation, how do you ensure your personal safety so that you get out of it? And when I'm thinking about these questions, I realized it was time to talk with George Matheis Jr. again of moderncombative-systems.net. And George, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Kerry.
Hey, always a pleasure. So, fortunately, thank goodness it hasn't happened. But, you're driving along on an interstate, and all of a sudden you have dozens of these idiots closing off the road. What the heck do you do here?
Well, I'll tell you, Kerry, when I was a combat skills instructor at McGuire Air Force Base teaching the Air Advisor program, one of the things I taught was high threat driving. And what we taught, people going downrange, Iraq and Afghanistan, was that the best thing that a vehicle can offer you is movement. When you can no longer move that vehicle, you can't sit still because you're basically paralyzed. You're strapped into a seated position. If you can't move that vehicle and that vehicle is disabled, you need to dismount. Again, this is not Iraq or Afghanistan yet, but my point is that if people are blocking your way, what you need to do, honk the horn a couple times and then just start driving slowly. Of course, there's going to be massive repercussions, if you're, 100 yards away and you rev up the engine, you run through them like bowling pins. But, if you start going real slow and you're basically just, pushing them out of the way like cattle, you're not going to get in any trouble for that. At least that would be my advice to the wife. And then at the point when something happens, when somebody breaches your vehicle, and what I mean by breaches, of course, your doors are locked and your windows are up, they start busting your window. You have to have, at that point, you have reasonable, grounds to believe that they're going to get in the vehicle and they're going to hurt you. At that time, you're going to accelerate until you're in a place of safety. And then you can call 911 and tell them what happened. But it only stands to reason that as soon as they have a vehicle stopped and they're around it, they're going to be pounding their fists on it. It's only a period of time. You don't know what's going to happen. You may have, a loved one, a kid, whatever, in the backseat. They bust that window and they start pulling people out. So what you need to do is keep that vehicle moving. Now you come into the problem where the vehicle in front of you is not moving. What are you going to do?
Yeah,
all right.
Good question.
That's a very reasonable question. That's why whenever you're stopped in traffic, you always want to leave yourself an out. Some people say 1 car length. So I like 1.5 to 2 car lengths. So, you can drive around. If you absolutely can't, then again, you have your doors locked and you have your windows up, and you have to prepare to defend yourself. If you happen to live in a state that respects freedom and you have the, our God-given right to arm yourself, at that point, I feel that, again, once that compartment is breached and you can't move the vehicle, a reasonable person would conclude that these people are trying to hurt you and it's time to start shooting people. In my experience, what happened is, after the first 1 or 2 people get shot, the crowd's going to lose their enthusiasm for their political party.
Yeah, they scatter real quick, like insects, like roaches. I can't even imagine. Fortunately, I'm in Florida where we have the castle doctrine, and technically your car is your castle. So they break into it while you're there. You have every right to defend yourself, and you're pretty much immunized. You might want to have your video cam, your phone camera recording this too, just in case it ever comes down to having to prove your innocence.
No, I totally agree. And the other thing is, when you're involved with something like that, besides your video, if it's any sort of a major incident, you're going to be able to go on YouTube within 30 minutes and you'll find all kinds of videos of it.
Yeah. I just hate to have to think you'd have to shoot your way out of it. But if that's your only alternative, what are you supposed to do here?
Well, that's exactly it, Kerry. One of the things is, when you're talking any kind of self-defense is, more than one attacker. I mean, can you imagine, I look at, my wife, she'd be, for whatever reason, not that I let her go down there, but she's driving through Baltimore and she's surrounded by, all of a sudden 30 or 40 people. Well, I mean, the law says that not only man versus or, woman versus man, but more than one attacker, you can use a higher level force, sometimes up to and including deadly force. So you're more than justified to use deadly force when you have a mob of people coming at you, and deadly force is deadly force. So whether it be, a pistol or it be, your 4,000-pound projectile called an SUV, defending yourself is defending yourself, and the law is the law.
Yeah, for sure. So you're in this situation where this is happening, you're almost certainly better off in an SUV than in a regular sedan, aren't you?
Oh, always. And the reason you're better off in an SUV is, and when it comes to high threat driving, we talk about what we refer to as drivable terrain. Drivable terrain is anything that you can drive over and not disable your vehicle. So obviously in a car, you're not going to be able to jump, huge medians or landscape. And with an SUV, you'll be able to drive over it slowly and continue to drive.
Right. And not be dragging a bunch of stuff or having the underside of your car ripped out while you're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and then the other thing I'm thinking, like, I don't know if you watched the demonstrations, the riots at Berkeley, because Dr. Charles Murray was there, happened to have been a guest on the show before. Good guy. I mean, it's not like a conventional riot in so many ways, George. It's different than that, but it is a riot. So what advice do you give people when you wind up in the middle of one of these things and you totally didn't expect it?
Well, I'll tell you, Kerry, that really hits close to home because my family, we believe, and, every life is sacred. And typically we like to attend the Right to Life March in D.C. And this year, after the previous couple of weeks watching all the vagina hats down there, I had to make a command decision, and I said we're not going this year. And the reason that we didn't go was not really because I was afraid of the the counter protesters, but the problem is I'm afraid of when you get a lot of people in an area like that somebody else co-opting it. All these people wearing masks, and somebody puts an IED out in the crowd.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So that's got nothing to do with protecting, voicing my freedom of speech. When I look at my family as a team, and I'm the team leader. One of the things we preach is staying away from stupid things, places, and people. There was too many contributing factors there, and too many security threats in my eyes that far outweighed anything that was going to, change on that front by my family and I being down there, including my kids.
Yeah, totally understandable. I mean, and that's a really bad thing because it's a really chilling effect on your right to free speech, your First Amendment rights.
Well, I'm conservative, Kerry. I don't have any rights to free speech, obviously. Look at the press.
Well, in theory, you still have some, but
that's right.
Really, you have to wonder about it. So, I've seen on a zillion websites, on Facebook, all over the place, these ballistic pens. All right. I mean, you could always off somebody with a ballpoint with a big pen, right? But now they're much different than that, aren't they? They're much better designed here. Well,
here's what happened is like anything else. I mean, I'm still carrying a second generation Glock 19 and 9mm. A lot of people that's antiquated. A lot of times I carry a 38 revolver.
Yeah.
A lot of people that's antiquated.
Yeah.
But I guess my main point would be that if I take a number 2 pencil and sharpen and I stick it in somebody's eye, is it going to have less effect than if I did it with a $100 custom combat pen?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just a little ironic, but yeah.
Well, and the manual of arms, whether it's a pen or pencil, and actually what's great, what's heavy duty is your basic mechanical pencil you'd buy at Staples is pretty heavy duty.
Yeah. Very true.
What I tell people about, have a pen that you carry all the time, hopefully because it writes well. And I always keep it inside of my shirt collar, and I wear T-shirts most of the time. And the reason that I wear it there is when you're threatened, your hands come up to protect your face and your neck, and so your hand's right there. You can get on your pen and you can pull it out, start going stabby to somebody's face, even if you're a female on the ground being sexually assaulted.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so I don't just count on that pen. I mean, they're so cheap. You can go out and buy Zebra 701s. I think you can get two of them for $6. It's a steel bodied pen. You want to sprinkle those things around your environment like fairy dust. Put them in the car, in your purse, in your pocket, everywhere you're going to be, so you can always carry or always have access to an improvised weapon. We just had here, I live in Amish country, over in Lancaster the other day. The police were trying to lock a guy up, and he got the female officer on the ground, started pounding her head into the ground. And when the male officer went to grab a hold of him, the suspect picked up a pen that was laying on the ground and started stabbing the officer in the leg.
Oh my God. Yeah. So.
It's a very effective weapon, and it will break your concentration. And I'll tell you what, a pen in your hand is worth a lot more than a gun in your holster.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? That's for sure. So you do advise people carry pens. You don't need to go spend $60 on one of these ballistic pens, right? I mean, it's kind of
no, because the problem is you're gonna try to go fly with it, or you're gonna try to go in a courthouse with it, and you're gonna wind up getting it taken from you. You want to fly with a cheap pen. You can have the good pen in your bag; it'll just look like a regular pen.
Yeah.
But if you're carrying a pen that says Smith and Wesson, CRKT, all these other pen manufacturers, the pen I carry every day is called a tie bolt from custom knife maker Brian Fellholter. Mm-hmm. It's a great sturdy pen, all made out of titanium, and it writes nice. But that's the pen I carry all the time because it's not obnoxious looking, and it doesn't look like it came out of a gun factory.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, so this is like much hype about these pens. Somebody just thought of something. It's like, hey, a steak knife could be a very effective weapon, if you have access to it, right?
Hey, the steak knife was made to cut meat.
Right.
Humans are made out of meat.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think maybe you get a false sense of security because, I've got a ballistic pen now. I'm immortal, I'm nobody can get me now. But
well, it's the same. Well, it goes with the the whole 511 ninja thing. These guys, everybody wants to get all tacked out, and it's all stuff that you can buy online. Well, you can't buy training online. We teach training over tools. Training always rules the day. You have to have mindset, training, and tools in that order. The tools are the last thing, because everything in the world, if you pick it up and you hit somebody when it cuts them open, it's an edge weapon. If you hit them when it doesn't cut them open, it's an impact weapon. That's all you got.
Yeah. Hey, well, I always say, any public place I go into, restaurant, movie theater, concert hall, I'm always looking at the exits. I'm always thinking about that. Even a hotel, I check into the hotel. I'm one of those crazy people that looks at the little diagram on the back of the door to figure out where those exits are. I mean, because probably nothing's going to happen, only almost certainly nothing will happen. But, so many times you think nothing's going to happen and something does happen. And when you don't have the plan, you find yourself in a lot of trouble.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, Kerry. Everybody wants to prepare themselves, to fight off the hordes of, ninjas, zombies, and pirates, which could happen. But if you get killed in a fire, you're just as dead. You always have to, have your head on a swivel, be, the three types of awareness, self-awareness, team awareness, and situational awareness. Uh-huh. And like you say, if you check into a new hotel and you're not familiar with the layout, then you need to familiarize yourself with the layout so you don't have to figure it out at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're in a smoke-filled hallway and sirens are going off and red lights.
Yeah, exactly. And I know somebody, he travels like all the time. He's been in 3 or 4 hotel fires. He won't even get a room on a higher floor. He wants it no higher than the 5th floor so he can be out that fire exit and out of the hotel. And I mean, exactly. I haven't gotten to that point, but I see the value of it. It makes sense.
And that's a good point, Kerry. One of the things, people always tell me, I want a gun for, home defense. I say, would you keep your cell phone, a flashlight, and shoes next to your bed? And they'll say, no, I don't keep any shoes. I say, well, if somebody breaks in, good chance you're going to break a window. You think it's going to break your concentration if you're clearing, the house with your $2,000, M4 with all kinds of stuff strapped on it, and you walk in broken glass and slice your feet up. Same thing in a hotel. You want a bag and clothes that are good for the weather that you can throw on pair of shoes and get the hell out of the room.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. Yeah, I do keep a flashlight right in my nightstand. I've got that, but I never thought of keeping shoes there. It just never dawned on me. But what a great point.
Of course, in my house, it's usually, a little bit of dog pee or a Lego and not so much stepping in glass, but that's why you wear them. Make sure you got those shoes.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great point. Never thought of that. So you've got all sorts of things like this that you teach people in your courses.
That's right.
Yeah. So give us a couple other tips, ways to save yourself in unexpected situations.
Okay, well, one of the things that we were just talking about was pens. Actually, what we teach is, you have three types of environments that you're going to be involved in any situation. It's either going to be a structure, a vehicle, or an open space, or a transition between those. So during the day, when you're outside the green zone and you're in a danger area, you want to have a pen in your hand. At night, you want to have a flashlight because we're visual beings, and you want to be able to look at stuff. The other thing is, I know a lot of guys now, or not just a lot of guys, but a lot of people, they're carrying firearms and they have lights on them. Well, the interesting thing about that is a lot of times that turns into a flashlight with a gun on it and not a gun with a flashlight on it.
Uh-huh.
You need to have a spare light that you don't need to use a light on your gun to see what's going on, because anything that you point that light at, there's a gun attached to it, and you can go to jail for that.
Wow. Yeah.
So, you want to have that spare light. And the other thing is, I always tell everybody, you want to carry, a pen, a flashlight, a whistle, because a whistle attracts a lot of attention because you don't hear it anymore. Car alarms, people are saying, press your car alarm. Nobody even looks at a car alarm anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, three short bursts on the whistle is the international sign for, distress. You take your kids to an amusement park, they shall have a whistle. Out in that huge crowd, you hear somebody blowing on a whistle, you know it's your kid.
What a great idea. I'd never thought of that. I mean, basically your kid's going to think you're a little crazy when they're younger, but it makes so much sense. Makes so much sense.
And the other thing, when you go to amusement parks and kids want a little distance from you, just get light sticks and hang light sticks around all your kids, and that way, out of hundreds of people, you know where your kid is. Or Photon makes neat little lights in all different colors. Get the kids their favorite color and make them have them on when you're out walking around at night. You know where each individual kid is.
That's great. That's a great idea. I never thought of that when I was younger. And the idea of giving them cell phones at a younger age really is a good idea, isn't it?
It's a great idea. The security of being able to get a hold of them and them being able to get a hold of you is an amazing thing. And the other thing is, a lot of times people don't realize that, if your kid's somewhere and they're lost and they have no idea where they're at, even if they're, they can get any kind of service, even in the woods, a lot of times if they can take a picture of the landmark, you can tell where they are.
Yeah, that's great. Just one final thing. I see you've got a video on the drugstore combat cane basics. So yeah. So if you carry a cane, then you've got an advantage there, huh?
Well, my favorite weapon, hands down, because it's the most primitive, is the stick. You can do a lot of damage with it, but if you stab somebody, you can't stab them a little bit. With the stick, you can make choice in how much force you want to use, and unlike the knife, you can walk around with the cane in your hand all the time. So we do a lot of cane stuff, and anybody can carry a cane. Nobody can ask you why you need it. It's against the ADA, and get yourself a nice one, but don't get your one from Cold Steel or anything that's marked combat cane or fighting cane. Again, that's where people get into trouble.
So you shouldn't get one that's got you shouldn't get a sword cane, huh?
Sword canes are probably not a good idea.
I think you'd probably, in all likelihood, to get the sword out of it, probably take too much time. You're better off with the cane.
Yeah, there's no tactical timeouts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as always, it's interesting and enlightening talking with you, George. The website is moderncombative-systems.net. Think about a class. I mean, I'm thinking about them myself, especially with the civil unrest going on, and it looks like it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yes, it is.
So, hey, if you got any questions for me or George, send us an email, kl@kerrylutz.com, kl@kerrylutz.com. The Twitter feed's @kerrylutz, and the Facebook page is Financial Survival Network. Hey, we'll talk to you real soon, George. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, thanks, Kerry. Thanks for having me.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.